Dawn breaks over a frigid, fungus-reeking plain. You're not wearing deodorant. No one is. You're hunched near a fire that's more smoke than flame, kind of like your spirit after last night's 5-star disaster, boiled bark stew. Your mammoth-hide cloak smells like wet moss, emotional defeat, and something suspiciously cruciferous. Across the fire, Grok is gnawing on a raw turnip with the ferocity of someone trying to win an argument with produce. You stare into the coal's eyes hollow and whisper the unthinkable, "What if we gave up meat?" The air freezes. Even the fire crackles like it just heard blasphemy. But fine, let's do it. Let's cannonball into the kale-scented nightmare where your ancestors looked at a 2,000-pound charging bison and said, "No thanks, I've got spinach." Maybe it all started with one cave woman named Una. Maybe she was just done. Done chasing things with antlers. Done peeling meat off ribs like she was performing prehistoric oral surgery. Done waking up with mammoth blood under her nails and no idea if she'd eaten dinner or accidentally reenacted a small-scale invasion. Maybe her spiritual awakening began in a field of wild dandelion greens, where she had a vision of a tranquil, bloated future. Maybe a rabbit made eye contact once and she emotionally unraveled for 72 hours. Or maybe it was the IBS. Maybe she simply couldn't handle one more post-mammoth digestive emergency. Whatever it was, one morning Una burst out of the forest like a leafy prophet, swaddled in ferns and righteous rage, gripping a fistful of wild leeks like ancient holy texts. Her hair looked like she'd lost a fight with a shrub. Her eyes screamed enlightenment. Her tunic reeked faintly of elderberries and generational regret. The tribe froze. She marched to the middle of camp, tossed her veggie haul into the communal stew pit like a dramatic plot twist, and declared, with a voice trembling from either fury or too much fiber, "From now on, we eat plants." The fire hissed. A turnip fell out of the pot like it was trying to leave the conversation. Silence. Someone muttered, "What did meat ever do to her?" And Grok. Grok just stood there, cradling a squirrel leg like it had a name and dreams. One lone tear traced through the ash on his face. No wailing, just a whisper to the wind, but the rabbit winked at me. Then, with the gravity of a man surrendering his soul, he lowered the squirrel leg to the dirt. It twitched. The squirrel wasn't dead. Everyone shrieked. Let's be real, meat wasn't just food, it was prestige, it was personality, it was the original humble brag with teeth. Dragging a half-squished mammoth leg into camp, that was your Stone Age Tinder profile. 6'3", emotionally stunted, but I can choke slam a woolly rhino and still have dinner sizzling by sunset. Roasting a squirrel on a stick, that was peak seduction, slow roasted. Smoky, eye contact optional. But if it happened, things were escalating. Meat was dominance. It screamed. I danced with death and brought back dinner. It whispered. I chased a thing with horns and won. It winked. These abs are forged by survival. My cholesterol, a myth. And now your big accomplishment is not hallucinating after taste testing a mushroom that might have just recited your birth name in Latin. Now you wake up puffy, itchy, and spiritually adrift because you munched 6 non-poisonous leaves and a root that made you briefly commune with your great-grandfather's ghost, who was juggling ferrets. Instead of sizzling mammoth steaks, you're locked in a passive-aggressive tribal standoff over who accidentally ate the last of the crispy fern tips. Again. Instead of badass bone necklaces that scream apex predator, you're rocking dainty squash vine chokers that say, mildly enchanted gourd fairy who wandered in from a druid music festival. Instead of the hunt, the rush, the blood-soaked opera of meat victory, you now have tubers, beige, lumpy, smug. You don't spear them, you coddle them out of the dirt like fragile root babies, rinse them tenderly, and pretend their flavor profile isn't damp sock with hints of soil. You once locked eyes with a saber tooth while holding nothing but a sharp stick, an unresolved trauma. Now, you're locked in a heated argument over whether this turnip is too chewy. This is your reality now. Slightly bitter, just like the tuber you just shame-chewed. Back in the meat-munching glory days, the hunters were basically divine. They ruled the camp hierarchy, both literally and with enough ego to shame a saber-tooth. muscles shimmering with sweat and mammoth grease, dripping in blood, pride, and unsolicited praise. They'd swagger in, dragging half a ton of mammoth like it was light cardio. Children gasped, elders offered blessings. Single cave women dropped rocks by accident. They didn't return from the plains, they arrived, like prehistoric rock gods, with groupies, with names like Bone Crusher and Dude who uppercutted a saber-tooth and didn't die. Even the fire leaned toward them. Even the wind went, Dayum. But now? Now the power belongs to Twig. Twig is 5 feet tall if you include his hair. Built like a broom after taxes. Wears not 1, not 2, but 3 bark-woven satchels because apparently fashion has pivoted to woodland tax accountant. Twig doesn't just forage, he curates. He identifies 38 kinds of moss with a sniff and a half twirl. He talks to mushrooms before picking them, not metaphorically, verbally, respectfully. Once, he held a full-blown therapy session with a carrot. The carrot left healed. Twig sings while gathering herbs in a falsetto that makes owls weep. He alphabetizes beets, he critiques pine cones like a sommelier. Too crunchy, not enough existential depth. And the tribe worships him. They don't just respect him, they hang on his every tuber-based word. Because in this meatless hellscape, where one wrong root turns your intestines into a percussion instrument for 4 lunar cycles, knowing what won't kill you matters. Twig is the new alpha, not because he conquers, but because he knows which flower stops your stomach from speaking in tongues. He is revered, envied, terrifying. Once, Grok, former apex predator and emotional carnivore, challenged him to a duel. Twig defeated him without raising a hand, just handed him a fermented dandelion smoothie topped with judgment. Grok now weeds the beet beds and journals, because in this brave new vegetable world, biceps are out, and fiber literacy is king. Flirting has evolved, painfully. It used to be raw, instinctual, slightly bloody. Here, I strangled this fox for you. A meaty gift, still steaming, a gesture of dominance. A fox-shaped love letter, signed in spleen. Back then, if you liked someone, you didn't whisper sweet nothings, you lobbed them a skull. You casually plopped a bare femur by their feet and grunted in a tone that said, mate with me, or at least consider it. And now? Now it's, I gently exfoliated this yam and carved your initials into it using only a piece of bark and romantic frustration. Love has gone from primal kill trophies to boutique root arrangements. Intimacy is now expressed through curated squash. Courtship unfolds in murmured tones over hand-tied bouquets of guilt-free dandelions. If you hand someone a flawlessly balanced parsnip, that's not flirting. That's a legally binding engagement. Modern couples seduce each other during slow-maglo garlic quests. They share soul-bearing secrets beside sultry leek clusters. They lock eyes while mashing elderberries into something disturbingly sensual. And the hottest phrase anyone can utter now? These mushrooms won't kill you. Woo! Someone get me a fern to faint into. Grok, formerly the undisputed Camp Casa, known for his saber-tooth bling and cave poetry that mostly rhymed gur with fur, now sits in exile, gnawing on sour lettuce and rethinking all his life choices. From Grok panics. In a last-ditch romantic Hail Mary, he grabs the largest beet in the pile, a chonker of a root. He slams it on a rock and starts roasting it with the deranged energy of a man trying to fight destiny with side dishes. He salts it with his own tears, adds no herbs, just sadness, desperation, and the unmistakable aftertaste of emotional bankruptcy. Then, with grim determination, he stomps over, drops it near Una, and declares, "It's beet, for you." Una stares. Twig stares. The beet, unsettlingly, also stares. Una slowly nudges it away like it might explode. It doesn't land. Grok turns and slinks off. In his corner, he begins softly composing a haiku about tubers and heartbreak. You used to carry spears, brutal, pointy, caked in the blood of creatures that underestimated you. They weren't just weapons, they were full-blown personalities. You'd sling one over your shoulder and grunt in a tone that screamed, "I've slain something recently and may or may not be actively decomposing from tetanus." Now you carry a mortar and pestle. You still brandish it, but instead of pulverizing bone, you're gently massaging nettles into a green paste while muttering, "This blend should help center your spleen chakra." Once heroic satchel, once overflowing with flint shards, sinew scraps, and a vaguely cursed jawbone, is now home to 3 melancholy parsnips, 1 emotionally damp radish wrapped in artisanal moss, and a twig-labeled pouch of experimental bark seasoning that smells like despair and feet. And let's not even begin to unpack the tribe's newest status symbol, the hand-carved salad spinner, painstakingly fashioned from a disgruntled tortoise shell. It spins like a regret. It leaks. It makes an ominous sloshing noise. And yes, it's sacred. Even your tools have become obnoxiously introspective. One of them is literally engraved with its own name, Crush Feelings. Vegetarian cavemen still know how to throw down. They still huddle around the fire. They still dance, clumsily, fervently, driven by raw celery and blind plant-based optimism. But now, every drumbeat is accompanied by the occasional rupture? Because let's not pretend your digestive system was built for 90% fiber and 0% charred possum. You give a Paleolithic gut that kind of treatment and it starts plotting revenge. Drum circles, now danger zones. Romance, scheduled very carefully around who consumed the lentil mush. The shaman now moonlights as a wind exorcist. Someone invents the leaf of shame, a massive fern waved like a warning flag before releasing a prehistoric doom gust. No one is safe. Not the dancers, not the drummers, not even the ceremonial goat. He also microdoses mushrooms. Accidentally, frequently. Ceremonies are now peaceful, meditative, smelling faintly of mint and something earthy. There's a 50% chance they end with someone full-on embracing a tree and whispering, you understand me." But not everyone is enlightened. There's always one. Let's call him Blarg. Blarg, who stares at a passing squirrel like it owes him meat. Blarg, who carves his spear and mutters, "Just one bite, one crispy, sizzling miracle." He starts a secret meat cult. Codename, the Carnivore Reawakening. There are whispers, secret fire circles, dried lizard jerky tucked in his mossy underpants. It all unravels the moment the unmistakable scent of bacon wafts through camp. The tribe gasps. The shaman clutches his lichen and wails to Fernor. Blarg is dragged into the circle of judgment and sentenced to 5 consecutive nights of mandatory bait meditation. He emerges changed, hollow-eyed, greasy with shame. He never speaks of bacon again. The children have questions. "Papa, why can't we eat animals?" "Because animals are our friends, child. But they smell like dinner. They are conscious beings, my sapling. But they taste like courage and lightning." The young ones start drawing stick figure saber-tooths with hearts and sparkles. Some run around playing ethical hunting with carrot spears. One bold soul creates a shadow puppet drama titled "The Grilled Squirrel's Revenge, a Tragedy in 3 Bites." You confiscate it, you explain the morality, but deep down, you chuckle, because that squirrel had excellent comedic timing. Surprisingly, yes, early humans could survive on plants. There were tubers, seeds, nuts, wild grains, fruits, legumes, and other things that resemble gravel, but become edible if you boil them for 9 hours and whisper apologies. 6-packs, unlikely. Longer lives? Maybe. Calcium deficiency and relentless gas? Absolutely. But they'd adapt. They'd pickle roots, sun-dry berries, and invent prehistoric kale chips. They'd build peaceful societies fueled by sharing, mild judgment, and heated debates over whether moss counts as a garnish. With humans off the menu, the animal kingdom exhales. Mammoths host raves. Saber-tooths open yoga studios. Cave bears get into real estate. Birds panic. Squirrels launch a musical, hyenas stay awful, balance is restored. And deep in a damp, fungusy cave, one early human sketches a broccoli, riding a mammoth into a glorious, meatless utopia. It makes no sense. It is magnificent. It becomes the tribal flag. So yes, cavemen could have been vegetarians. They would have danced, farted, painted spinach murals, and screamed, "Blessed be the beet," into the wind. They would have survived, barely. Thrived, awkwardly, reshaped society one root at a time. And us? We're still them. Still sharing meals to feel human. Still debating hummus texture. Still praying our date doesn't smell like kombucha and regret. We've got phones and oat cheese now, but deep down we're just Ice Age survivors with opinions about fiber. Now pass the roasted tuber, and for the love of Fernor, light a match.